Can I get some kind of indication as to if this is going or something? Okay, I can't see out, so I'm just going to carry on as if it is going on. So before I start, I'd just like to give a couple of thanks out. First of all to Tatty Garth, who put me onto this Punk for the Homeless do. I also want to thank Alan Morgan, who put me in touch with the Eagle, and also to the Eagle himself for having organised this event. Over £1,000 raised already. Great work. There's details on the charity that this is benefiting and how to donate on the Punk for the Homeless Facebook page. I'm gonna start off with one of my, first of all, with well, I'm gonna be with you for the next 25 minutes. First one I'm gonna do is my most recent finished piece, and it's about one of my pet hates. It's called 3/4 of a portion of chips. I remember throwing away 3/4 of a portion of chips when I was younger. There was no wrong with them. I just didn't want them anymore. That was before the day I met hunger, empty cupboard, skint lying weak on the floor, digestive juices cutting through my belly like a plough, thinking how I wish I had that 3/4 of a portion of chips now. So if you're on the next table and you're leaving those chips and that salad, mate, barely before you left your seat, I'll be scraping your plate. I don't mean to be rude. I just really hate to see people wasting food. Before you leave that quarter-eaten kebab in a public loo, consider this. Does an animal's life mean so little to you? Would you electrocute your child, cut its head off, cook it, then throw it straight into the bin out of the pan? No? I wouldn't think you would do. I almost believe they should bring back rationing like in World War II. Excuse me if my use of metaphor seems in bad taste. I just really makes me sick to see food go to waste. Think of the energy required to sort, prepare and pack. Think of the Amazon under attack. Think of the farmer toiling in their field. Think of when they're shit weather and they get a shit yield. Think of the supermarket that extorts them. Think of the carbon footprint to import the stuff here. Consider that the maturation process for a pineapple is 2 years. Consider that once a planet is dead, it'll be unexhumable. When you consider all this, out of season foreign produce is a luxury consumable. So if you push away your plate, you'll have to forgive me if I scoff, because the I don't like it crew really piss me off. Just think. When you look into the eyes of a homeless man or have memories of images of emaciated kids in South Sudan, that's why I despise those first world families who complain of being poor. When every year they throw away 5 tons of edible food or more just because of the sell-by date that the packaging shows. Do they not remember there's a reason we have eyes and a nose? Use a bit of your own judgment, pal. You may as well be throwing a third of your wage straight into the canal. But if you really are empty cupboard skint, here's a tip: your local convenience store skip can be a lucky dip. Or if you're in the mood for a crazy caper, go to an eatery and adopt the noble role of a plate scraper, eating your scavenged bread soaked in the leftover sauce you've been mopping, washed down with the drinks you've been table topping. I don't really care if you think my volition's misplaced, 'cause I'm Robin Hood and the sheriff I'm shooting his waist. Fuck the use by date. Don't be so dumb. When it comes to eggs, there's a rule of thumb. If it sinks in water, it's fine. If it floats, it's rotten, so you're in a different position. Put it in your pocket, take it to town and throw it at a politician. Or compost it. Either way, what more can I say than I really hate to see edible food needlessly thrown away. So in conclusion, read my lips. Consider the above before chucking that 3/4 of a portion of chips. Hello, Alan Morgan. How you doing? Nice to thank you for, and we've got Tamsin, Jamie May joined us. Hello, everyone. Thanks for watching. Another thing that I hate, as well as food being wasted, is discrimination. And last summer I heard loads of discrimination about this particular group, and it started to really piss me off. So what I did is I set out to write a piece in defence of this maligned and marginalised group. This is called In Defence of Wasps. Cast your eyes upon a pastoral scene. There's one detail many wouldn't find so serene, a character that many wouldn't mind if they died, the pantomime villain of the summer countryside. But this hatred is without justification. I'm sick of this etymological discrimination. Just to be clear, I'm not on about the wasps that wear pillowcases and set crosses on fire. No, These kind of wasps have much more stylish attire, black and yellow striped shell suits, black shades when it comes to finesse. Yellow jacket wasps have got it in spades, a pleasure for the eyes, but disregarding all this, at least they're cleaner than flies. You say I hate wasps, they're just pests. I say I beg your pardon. But wasps are an essential component of the Great British Garden. They play an invaluable role in natural biological pest control, contributing to the ecosystem in their own way by eating 40 million kilos of insect prey in the UK, including aphids, caterpillars, whitefly and other eaters of plants, the little blighters that eat your produce before you get a chance. So just to be frank, growers of tomatoes, aubergines, cucumbers, strawberries and marigolds amongst others have wasps to thank. You've got to accept that you might be eating if you're going to eat. And to honey buzzards, bee-eaters and roadrunners, wasps are a irresistible, tasty treat. I'm sick of wasp haters. Cut the poor guy some slack. You can't not but give props to an insect that can take down a yak. And to outdoor drinkers of fizzy pop, don't be so stingy, try and have some understanding. Wasps like fizzy pop too. Let them have a small sip of your drink, they're not being that demanding. Wasps and humans have some similar attributes, like a common penchant for the product of fermented fruits that get up in your face and you wonder why. But you'd be aggy too if you were hungry, drunk and horny and knew you were soon to die. And how would you react if someone flapped and flailed at you? If you chill out, most of the time they will too. The fact that they sometimes sting is what bothers folk the most. But honeybees sting too, so think of that when you're spreading that nectar on your toast. How can you hate a creature who, like the Japanese nation, live in paper houses that they build through mastication, have highly sophisticated communication and are crucial to the ecology for pollination, dipping in and out of flowers on branches and twigs? If it weren't for wasps, we wouldn't have figs. Don't let bees get all the praise, and consider the above when having a picnic on those late summer days. Right, so I'm just going to reiterate what I've said earlier. Now there's a few more of you here. We've done a great job, and upwards of £1,000. Well done, Eagle. Details on the charity and how to donate are on the Punk for the Homeless Facebook page. Please do donate, it's a very worthwhile cause. Next piece I'm going to do is probably one of my more epic ones, and it's a fairly old one. I wrote it maybe late teens, early 20s. It's called The Blood That Spills for the Oil That Drips. Time's running out like a burning taper, wading through plastic packaging and wasted paper, covered in worthless words. The sound of traffic drowning out, singing birds, billboards and pollution render us oblivious to flowers in bloom, the crooked horizon dotted with tubes emitting plumes of fumes. A hole in the sky dilates like the eye of a person who's about to collapse, mirrored by the surface. The Arctic and its melting ice caps will be washed away like fungal spores when that amount of water engulfs our shattered shores. Most of us deserve this bit of medicine that we're tasting because of years of humanity senselessly wasting. Don't they realise the supplies won't last forever? The skies retaliate with stormy weather. The unconscious collaborators' flag unwittingly unfurled in a partially forgotten, deprived corner of the world. There's a story left largely untold. Out there, you're lucky if you grow old. And all over the world, families unsheltered and cold, while out of fashion designer tops grow mildew and mould for a month. Not a gram of nutrition has passed this child's lips, while tons of perfectly good food is left to fester in skips. Gallons and gallons of burning oil, while fellow human beings are left in turmoil. The word extinction on my lips like back in the Jurassic. Efficiently eradicating ourselves with a scorched earth tactic. For our own sake, we need to stop now, because we're at a crucial junction. But a third of the world is in the bubble of their own consumption. May as well take off that shirt and tie, put on that SS coat, because all over the world the waters are tainted, whether with fluoride, a dead goat, and they disassociate from their excretions into the air. In the sky they mutilate. We've had a glimpse of the fantasy and developed the taste, leaving a mangled, twisted, tangled mess of waste in our wake, watching the oil burning on the surface of the lake. Think of what you're doing to this planet, for fuck's sake. Many national governments and multinational organisations, it's time for a quick and brutal defenestration. Because of them, We're going environmental with a capital M. Sports cars in full sets and their private jets hardly use them. But want to see how many more they can get, like an intoxicated vampire on an ego trip. The blood that spills for the oil that drips. A microphone jack and I'm planting the seed. Some people don't seem to see the need to reduce, repair, reuse, recondition, recycle. We've been wasting for too long and it's taking the Michael. Comes ever more important as finally now, after years we may be seeing the completion of the Marxist cycle. Mine's as substantial as form of those who'd sooner worship a penny than conserve their only home. Yeah, it's our home, but it's not ours. Turn off that light. It's easy, you're not just burning a hole in the sky. You're drowning out the stars. We've been given a gift and turned it into hell, leaving nothing but poison, gas, acid rain and an empty shell. And the function of the mass media, it seems at a guess, is to increase consumption by means of breeding a culture of stress. Reiterate the point with little contortion. We mustn't lose sight of the fact that possibly some of this shit has been blown out of proportion. I'm not a doctor, but I've got a diagnosis. This consumption leads to more waste, which accelerates the process. The resulting battle of the ego is going to lead to a nasty grapple, like the time on Olympus with the golden apple. This system needs that spanner. The only politician I trust goes to town wearing black and a red bandana, because they fight for freedom, whereas the forces these days fight for the spoils of war. Gorge themselves sick in the faces of the poor. And when it comes to oil, they're junkies, they always want more. How dare them yuppie suckers dictate to me from the artificial plateau of their SUV. When it comes to the powers that be, we need to rip off them blinkers because they fail to see that for people in their position, they're not doing what they ought to. Fail to recognise the ripples that they're leaving for their children, sons and daughters. Divide the profits amongst themselves into unequal quarters and feed the population with tainted water. No repercussions for you now as you widen the sky's hole. But we'll see what happens when you're weighing in your soul against a feather. Unless you've another explanation for this erratic weather. The planet's spiralling into cataclysm. The fifth horseman of the apocalypse is capitalism. The sky is falling in through human audacity as we seriously threaten the planet's carrying capacity. The ecosystem's had enough. This desecrated planet's no more a diamond in the rough because of our pollution, cruelty and waste. We've left Mother Earth with a bitter taste, and some still stand back and wonder why. Hate, like molten lead, drips from the wounded sky. Whew. Got a bit hot and bothered doing that one. Just going for a bit of a costume change. I do like to do these. It's nice to keep it fresh in the bedroom or the living room, as the case may be. So I found this, right? And when I found it, I thought, that'd make a really good Easter costume. So if I'm going to wear a costume that's Easter themed, it would be good to have a piece written about it. So then I thinks, what's Easter all about? It's about chocolatey treats for spoilt, demanding little darlings. This one's called Jesus Died. Jesus died in circa 0 AD. Legend has it that he died for you and he died for me, but it was his humiliation and pain in vain when injustice and suffering still reign. Jesus died. Jesus dies. Jesus stood up for justice and against persecution. Jesus was the victim of a witch trial and was sentenced to execution. Jesus died when he was 30 odd years old. Jesus dies on the streets at Christmas, alone out in the cold. Jesus died. Jesus dies. Jesus gets battered by different coloured skinned folk. Jesus got killed for that gram of coke. Jesus died for me and he died for you. Jesus got shot on the 30th of January 1972. Jesus got napalmed. Jesus died. Jesus dies. Jesus resisted authority. His story is one of iconoclastic bravery. But what was it all for when people like Mary Magdalene are still sold into slavery? Hands to the bone, she slogs. Jesus was washed up on that beach in 2015. He was refused entry, like blacks, Irish and dogs, a birth out in the cold, an exercise of endurance. Maybe the Virgin Mary should have thought of health insurance. Jesus suffered and died because he wanted to save. If Jesus saw now, he'd be rolling in his grave. Jesus was hung on barbed wire in the First World War. Jesus died of starvation in the famine in Darfur. Jesus dies of curable diseases. Jesus got nuked in Nagasaki. Jesus died in Belsen. Deny all you want, but I'm not lying. Jesus died and Jesus keeps dying. Right, so I'm quickly going to squeeze in another one, if I'm all right to do so. If no one objects, then I'm going to go ahead and do it. No one's objecting yet, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. First of all, though, I'd like to thank you for all coming on and watching my Tuesday craziness. Please don't forget, if you haven't already and you feel as if you can afford to donate to the cause, just do a bit of shameless self-promotion while I've got all your attention as well. If you've liked what I do, then feel free to follow me on social media. I'm on Twitter at Microphone Jack. On Facebook, I am at Microphone Jack UK. And that's all I've got to say. That's the unscheduled advert over with. So I'm going to go ahead and do the piece that I think arouses and it's one of the pieces that I do that seems to most universally be accepted by people, and it's I suppose maybe one of my signature pieces. This is Body Terror. The beauty culture is oppression. The photo perfect sheen has become an obsession. It's like a drug, it's addictive, it's like a depressant for all those germ-free adolescents who call me a scratter, but I don't take offence as they wash away their last line of immune defence, keeping up the pretences and using hyperreality to compensate for their dulled senses. Nip, tuck and suck, spray on the parabens, smear on the muck. Put on those shoes that deform your feet. May as well just take residence on Harley Street and fill your shelves, stack the products to the roof, because you're never going to find the fountain of youth. We just drip-fed insecurity through advertisement, pop and porn. The grass is always healthier on another person's lawn. With marketing so aggressive, they should be done for assaulting. But this is a scrubber revolution and we are revolting. Because it's an error. Submit to the ideological body terror. Why can't we be happy with what we've got? And realise that how we look shouldn't mean squat corporations exploiting people's vulnerability, battering their shattered egos with cold, empty, blank sterility, increasing pressure to be Mr. and Mrs. Jones. To me, it's more like episode 2, Attack of the Clones. But there's another way. I'm representing the great soap dodgers across the UK. That's why I wince in disgust at that Listerine you're sloshing. Because I like moshing, but I don't like washing. We should really stop and think before those CFCs in the air render us all extinct. Our corpses buried under plastic containers. We should slow down and stop. It's a no-brainer. Lather in the scented grease. Reap the spoils. Disrupt your skin's pH and the production of natural oils. Plug in follicles and pores leading to eczema and spots. Stock up on moisturiser. Because of the damage done, you're going to need lots. It's a vicious cycle, so embrace the scrat tendency. And realise that shampoo is a chemical dependency. If your eyes are too small, or if you've too much hair, or if you don't have the right shaped derriere, if you don't use chlorhexidine gluconate, no one's going to want to be your mate. If you don't have tits, or if you don't have pecs, or if you're fat, you're not going to have sex. That's what they tell us when they're selling us the dream. But no, it smells like teenage desperation, like Lynx and spot cream. Ambitions to achieve an Aphroditean aesthetic through the pursuit of fad diets and copious cosmetics, applied with a trowel not to be ignored. But ask yourself this, can you really afford to just lie back and take it as if you were on a recliner? Displaying the feast like a montage in a diner, exerting yourself to have pains in your heart like angina. Shave those legs and wax that vagina, indulge in dieting, cosmetic surgery and implants till you pop. But your efforts will never match the sheen of Photoshop. Going back and forth like a Newton's cradle and up and down like a pogo. May as well just get branded with that Abattoir Garnier logo. Incisions made in the skin for beautification. But if I do it, it's considered self-mutilation. Need to open our eyes. It's corporate manipulation, exploiting and aggravating a growing sense of isolation. But there's another way. I'm representing the great unwashed across the UK. It's the only way to break free. Stop giving a fuck and be a scruff like me. Thank you very much, Punk for the Homeless. Have a good afternoon, won't you? Peace.